Hey, what is up, Internet and Bellingham? Welcome to another episode of Gaming Academy. It is class, 37? Oh my goodness, we're almost to 50. We're almost there, and that's a great achievement. We're 37 more episodes than we were last time. That's fantastic. Anyway, it is June 24th here in Bellingham, Washington, when the number one gaming podcast in the city, Gaming Academy. I'm your headmaster for the night, and we got a stacked syllabus full of gaming wisdom, real world XP, and maybe even a few surprise power ups for y'all tonight. Joining me as always is the tactical mind behind the tech, Blazing Ace Nelson, and tonight we're keeping it sharp, brand new, and a deep dive into what we call Wendigo Blue. That's right, it's a two-player co-op tonight on the Gaming Academy with Blazing Ace Nelson. We've also got your favorite bargain hunt in full effect with What's the Deal? It's finally back. I know it's been gone for a while. And that's where I help you save before you slay, breaking down the week's best physical game deals and gaming goodies. Only physical over here. Plus, we're leveling up your mindset with something new. My weekly comic, Little Big Life, a slice of motivational, comics for gamers who need a spark, or just in general, if you need a little bit of motivation in your life, feel free to check it out, and we'll show that to you later. And finally, stick around for the closing segment that hits harder than the secret boss, the final boss, where I'm sharing tonight's wisdom, unlocking your hidden stats. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean you're not leveling up. So, yeah, with that said, let's get into it. As always, I am joined by fellow cohort panelist and gaming entrepreneur, I would call that. We've been battling these streets for the longest time here in Bellingham. He's typically covering the arcade front, while I'm covering the video game storefront as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, Blazing Ace Nelson.
Welcome back, class. It's the two-man crew.
Yeah, we're here. We're double dragging it up. It's all we need.
But I hope you all had yourselves a fantastic week leading up to this point. I know it's been pretty action-packed on my end, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of that action with all y'all on a new edition of the Tech this evening. This time, as mentioned a few moments ago, we're actually going to be taking a bit of a break from City of the Wolves, and we're moving over to my current beat-em-up obsession. So you're definitely going to want to check out some of the info I got for you, especially for folks that are actually planning on picking up this early access gem and stepping into the world of Wendigo Blue. You don't want to miss it.
It's definitely on flavor since the last episode was the beat 'em up episode. So I'm glad that you sharing something new and something blue. There you go. I'm pretty excited. I saw pixel art, I saw beat 'em up, and before the show in the backstage, I said I saw stats, and I was super excited to see what you got. Pawn up for tonight. But with that said, let's shout out to Andre in chat. Welcome back, Andre. Sonoris in chat also. Good to see you guys as always. If you guys like the stream and the podcast, please share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, because that's how we grow. Love word of mouth recommendation. So if you guys like the show and you have friends that are like, hey, check out these guys out. They're really funny. They're really cool. They're their podcast is relatively drama free, and they also do their own thing. So it's like we're like real. We're not like the 3-letter publication companies, So anything like that. Exactly. So we got always Danny says good evening. Good evening, always Danny. Good to have you back as always. But hey man, with that said, jam-packed episode as always. We got to slam this baby in 2 hours. Let's get into some This Week in Gaming History, shall we?
Let's rock and roll.
All right, here we go. This Week in Gaming History. Woo-wee. That is always a fire intro. I love it. And hopefully Arxis doesn't come for us. Actually, I don't know who owns that. Is it Arxis or is it Konami? I don't know.
I think technically Arc System Works owns that.
Technically Arxis, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we just know we appreciated Arxis, so thank you. All right. So if it's your first time on the show, this is the part of the show where we cover This Week in Gaming History, all the way from Sunday through Saturday, and starting on Sunday, the first game we have on the stream today is on June 22nd. Valkyrie Profile 2 Silmeria came out on the PS2 in 2006 in Japan. And I actually, during this time, was a dark time for James, aka GQAzndood, because I had retired from the gaming world for like a couple years. Yes, I know that's weird, but it's true. I decided to focus on college, and I hung up my PS2 and my 360, and I said I want for 2 years I'm gonna buckle down and study. And I actually missed this era of gaming, but I'm glad someone on the channel played this game because I actually enjoyed the first Valkyrie Profile on the PSP, and arguably one of the first games I ever streamed ever was Valkyrie Profile on the PSP. So, Ace, so what's Profile 2 look like? Is it just like the first one? Like, what is it? What does it play like?
Well, with Valkyrie Profile Silmeria, well, firstly, when I initially heard that game was coming out, this was also around the time where I was importing games for the PS2. So as soon as I heard about it, I'm like, you know what? I don't care if it's in Japanese. I'm gonna cop this bad boy and see what's going on.
Nice.
Valkyrie Profile Silmeria is definitely one of the earlier examples I can think of a game where the sequel took elements from the first game, built on them, refined them, and basically showed what was possible with that particular format, but on higher end, or at the very least, on more higher tech hardware.
Yeah.
So you still got your side scrolling stages. You've got your platforming puzzles utilizing the crystals that your human character Alicia can use. But then once you get into combat, once it's Valkyrie time, it switches to a 3D plane where you've got your terrain where you could actually move your team around, or even separate them into different units of from like four different from the four different characters that you can eventually get moving around the field themselves, to like groups of two, or maybe like a group of three, where one of them you can actually set them up to like flank the enemies. And then once you initiate attacks, it goes back to the traditional side view format where you can like press a button corresponding to each party member.
Okay. I'm actually going to pull this up here because I actually haven't really seen it.
This was also one of the first PS2 games where you could actually set it to 16:9 HD mode.
Oh, really? Oh, thank you, Amazon. I'm glad it's sliding right in there. All right, there we go. Did this have like the 480p upres option? Because I know during that time, in the latter portion of the PS2, there were a lot of games converting to 480p. Do you recall it all? It looks pretty high res.
Yeah, and I think this one was one of the ones that had it. All right, give me a quick second, trying to pull a little something else up here.
That guy looks like Jack Sparrow. He looks like Jack Sparrow. All right, let's see some gameplay here. Oh, here we go. Okay, so they went with 3D models instead of 2D pixels now.
Yep, and honestly, like this game also came out, shortly after Star Ocean
Okay.
time. So, they were already, Square Enix was already going with, tech and design that worked. Just again, building on, iterating on what they had previously, but still, still really, really building on it too.
Yeah, their art during this era, like Square was like cooking. It looked good for what they were doing. Like I said, like Final Fantasy 12 looked. I don't know what kind of warlock magic they did to make that game push the PS2 to its limits, but they did it. I was shocked at how good that game looked for a PS2 console. And keep in
Yeah.
mind, chat, PS2 was weaker than the Xbox, so it's like it's what you do with what you got versus like what hardware you have, and this is proven time by time by very talented studios, right? So no, this is super cool. I like this here. All right, well, let me name off some other games that came out that day while we're watching this gameplay here. The Mega Man Anniversary Collection came out on the GameCube and PS2 in 2004. That was one I definitely saw on the shelf a lot at the game store. Monster Hunter Freedom Unite on the PSP in 2009 also came out. Transformers War for Cybertron, really cool game, by the way. Came out on everything. If you have a PS3, definitely pick this up. And I think they re-release this on PS4 also, like as a digital download.
I wish.
I double check because I feel like they did, and this is one of the greatest Transformers games you'll ever play. This is technically
Not that.
prequel to the
No,
cartoon.
they didn't re-release it on the PS4 because the Transformers games were part of the lineup of Activision published, Activision published games that got delisted.
Yeah, because they did it with that's why Deadpool got delisted, because the other one was like Blue Moon Studios or something. They're the same people that made it. Yeah, Sonic Origins on the PS4 in 2022 in Japan, and Final Fantasy 16 on the PS5 2023. It's only been 2 years since that game came out. Man, that's crazy. I was not expecting that. So that's pretty wild. All right.
It's been a hot minute.
Oh yeah. Well, speaking of hot minute, the next day we got here is the birthday of the Nintendo 64 back in 1996 in Japan. Came out with the Mario 64 on the same day as well.
Now, although it's just the two of us here, this particular day in history, something this momentous, and then also in addition to Monster Hunter Freedom Unite showing up on the PSP. Let's see if we can get Oliver back in here, because we definitely want to have him on to talk about this as well.
Yeah, let me see. I'll send him a link and see if he gets it.
So yeah, I sent him over the link as well.
Okay, looks like he's having issues jumping in the room according to chat there.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if this one will. I'll send him in the Academy guest room, and let's see if that one works. Oliver, check that one out. If it works, awesome. But yeah, my story with the N64. I was actually holding off on buying a PlayStation 1 because of the N64. Because of, do you guys remember the screenshot of how they showed what a Final Fantasy game would look like on the N64?
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait. I want to play that game on the screen. I want to play that. And then we ended up getting Quest 64, which is nothing like it. And we ended up losing Final Fantasy to Sony with Final Fantasy 7, which kind of happy that happened, because man, history would have been totally different if 7 ended up on the N64. I don't know how that would have worked out. Yeah, it is what it is. But I remember actively, I had the money in my hand. I was like, oh man, PlayStation's cool, but I'm a Nintendo boy. Like, I grew up in Nintendo, Super Nintendo. I was a Nintendo loyalist, right? And then it came out, and I was like, this is kind of okay. It's not great, like the graphics weren't impressive. But then, like, I think what really sold me on the PlayStation was kept putting out these FMVs, right? Full motion videos with like CGI and stuff. And I was like, man, this is so cool looking. Like, even graphics, cinematic graphics sold it for me. It wasn't even gameplay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kept reading that, like, oh, there's more data on a CD, like there is loading, but like you get more games on it. The games are cheaper, right? The games are like $30, $40. The N64 games were like $60, $70, $80. and I was like, okay, there's so many more pros on getting a PlayStation versus so I actually buckled down, and with the money that I had for the N64, I went to I can't remember where I went to. I think it was Software Etc. or something like that. And I had bought the PlayStation Basic, I had bought Street Fighter Alpha, um, and Vandal Hearts. I think that my last session we talked about Vandal Hearts was one of my first games.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was my first, of course, the fighting game. And yeah, that was my first purchase for the next gen console. And then my buddy had an N64 at his house, and we just played Blitz at his house, pretty much. So, all right, I think he finally made it. Let's see. He's alive. Can you hear us, sir?
So, has he finished delivering the groceries?
Mic check, mic check. I don't think he can't hear us. But you are here and live. Oh, no audio. I heard something. How about you, Ace? Did you have a N64 story?
Well, well, much like you, I actually had a couple of friends that had a Nintendo 64, so I didn't really purchase it directly myself. Yeah. And I think I have better memories of Quest 64, largely because, although I had seen, the screenshots of what they were trying to do for Final Fantasy on the Nintendo 64, like, that, Final Fantasy 6 but in 3D. Mm-hmm. I didn't really have much as far as like, connecting that to, since we didn't get Final Fantasy, we got that. So I saw Quest 64 as just this, nifty little novelty of the game, I suppose. But the games that really did it for me when, when I was over at my friend's place and, playing on their 64, the games that really did it for me were 007.
Of course.
And Killer Instinct Gold.
Two great titles, 100%. Oliver, can you hear us? Do you have audio, sir? Not yet. He's still in Death Stranding purgatory. Yeah, and the thing with the N64, like I'm pretty sure I played Blast Corps so much unnecessarily a lot. And I did not play Mario 64. I thought Mario 64 was so like for with what we got on the PlayStation with Crash, Spyro, like Maximo, right? All those games, I was like, man, Mario didn't look that impressive, right? And I think I was just over it. I think I was just like, I'm over Mario. I want to try something new.
Nah, I get that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's stuff like Killer Instinct Gold, F-Zero, Star Fox.
Star Fox was so good. Even the multiplayer like combat was so fun.
Yeah,
it ran really well.
And of course, Super Smash Brothers with the absolutely wild commercials that came out.
Yeah. That was. They had some really cool commercials back in the day too. Like, they were ready for everything. Hello, sir. Can you hear us? No. Okay.
and then of course, the game that made you go, okay, you know what? Maybe Nintendo is actually operating on a different level. Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah, that was like, okay, so I remember the N64 was like, this is the kiddie system, right? Like, aside from Killer Instinct, I was like, this is the kiddie system. Like, they released like toys pretty much for this thing, but like, I just remember all the cool games were on the PlayStation. Just not, and there were like some games I wanted to play on the N64, but it wasn't like worth buying a console for. I would just be like, let me rent this or something, So, like, I think there was like an N64 fighting game. I think it was like they had it on Matt McMuscles, and it was a really bad. It was like maybe
what was that, like Flying Dragon?
No, like Fighter's History or something. Not History. Fighter's Destiny. Yeah, that one. Which were like you get points from getting knocked down, right? Remember that? It's a really weird one, and it like and you build your own fighter too, which is kind of cool. But like the rule set was so weird. It played like Virtua Fighter, but you don't get you don't get points. You win by hitting him and like making contact and knocking him down, like a karate tournament. It's really weird. So,
but yeah, no, like other than that, oh yeah, there was also what you call it, Mortal Kombat. One of the Mortal Kombat games was on the N64 as well.
Was it? I think it was Deadly Alliance that was on.
No,
there.
it was like MK4.
Oh no, an MK Trilogy was on there. That was a good one. MK Trilogy. Hello, can you hear us? Anything, sir? Oh, we can't hear you, but we can. You're not muted. I maxed you out on the thing. Let me read off some of the other in chat. If you have any N64 stories, tell us on chat, and while I read off the this day. All right, so we got Sonic the Hedgehog on the Genesis in 1991 in the US, because I know we talked about this in Japan a few episodes back. Ape Escape on the PlayStation in 1999. Deus Ex on the PC in 2000. Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem on the GameCube in 2002. Alone in the Dark came out on everything in 2008. Battlefield Bad Company, gosh, I wish that would come back. PS3 on the 360 in 2008. Fight Night Round 4, the only Fight Night game I ever bought on the PS3 and 360 in 2009. A little fun game called Overlord 2 on the PC, PS3, and 360 in 2009. And a not so small game, Batman Arkham Knight, also came out on everything in 2015. Summer of gaming, like I said. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, can you hear him? And I can't hear him. Ace, he can hear us, but we can't hear him.
That is weird.
So, if Oliver's talking and the bar is going up on our screen over here, you know how like because it could be on our end, but like it's not going up at all, so it has to be his mic. Oliver, say something. Yeah, see, it's not even going up. There's no bar that's coming up on our end, so that means we're not even receiving a audio signal from him. Yeah, that's weird. And there's nothing here that I changed. It should be okay. Check if you're muted on anything. Hardware too. Check if you're muted on hardware. So, all right.
And I'd also say definitely double check your mic settings on Restream just to make sure that you got everything all linked up there too.
Yeah, make sure you're assigned the right mic layers, or maybe you have the website muted. So check that too. There's all these other things that could happen. Also, I know that was one of the big ones. I was like, oh, there's no audio, and I realized I muted the website because I kept getting notifications from it. So I remember that. I want to hear Oliver's N64 story, but we're gonna move forward here. But we'll come back when he gets audio. Just keep trying.
How about now?
Oh, there we go.
All right. Good God. No, everything just suddenly collapsed and broke on itself dramatically just between moving from stream to here. I have no clue why. I had to change mics because it was just like
you are out of sync though. I don't know if you noticed that.
Am I?
Yeah, like
that's weird,
like, right? I don't know. You noticed that? No. Say something.
Okay.
Say something.
Like okay, now I don't know what's happening. Okay,
yeah, it was delayed.
Yeah, you were on a bit of a delay for like a quick second there.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's weird.
But we got you now.
No, everything broke.
All right. Well,
everything broke dramatically. I was like, what the hell? I had to change mics to even get this going. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with the other one. So I'm just not fighting it. I found one that works. We're good. What's my crazy Nintendo 64 story?
Yes, please. Please.
What do we got? Just give me the quick on the games that came out this week or this week in history.
We got let's see here. We got Sonic the Hedgehog in the Genesis. Yep. Deus Ex, Ape Escape, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, Alone in the Dark, Battlefield Bad Company, Fight Night Round 4, Overlord 2, and then the Batman Arkham Knight game.
I played the Christ out of Arkham Knight.
Mhm.
My tiny little interesting story about that is that I was friends with one of the programmers on that game, and I helped them find a bug in free flow combat really, really, really early into launch. Right? They're like, nope, that's it. I was just like, nope. And they actually paid attention. They're like, oh, you really, really know this stuff really well. I was like, yeah, here's where the problems are, and the delays, and all that other stuff. They're like, nope, we actually found that
Yeah.
exact bug, and we're going to address it. And I don't know, felt better. Felt better about myself.
Yeah,
But
when they
man,
talk
that game was a
about
disappointment.
they talk about free flow combat, right? So it's like
Yeah.
if you feel something's off, you're gonna feel it.
Mm-hmm. Because those, it's like playing any other fighting game. I mean, milliseconds difference to anybody else, it's
Mhm.
completely invisible. But when you're embedded in that nonsense, man, it feels like an eternity.
Oh, I am grateful for your input on that because I do remember there's a trophy of getting like 100% like streak or 100 streak on like combat in one of those like modes, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, if that threw me off, I'd be so mad if I was on 98 or something.
Oh yeah.
Come on now.
Oh yeah. No, that shit matters. Right, but no, that was what a bad end to that trilogy. Arkham Knight, like it could have gone better, but I wouldn't say it was a bad game, but man, when you came off of Asylum and City, and they
Mhm.
just kept getting better and better, like to just even to come down just a little bit is just not. No, you don't want that. You don't want that to happen. It's like
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma 2.
Oh no, no! There's still DLC for that game. Stop it.
Like
The copium is real.
it's okay. It's an okay game, but
The
when you
copium.
came off of 1, that was
I mean,
baller.
I feel like 2 is just a remake of 1, but like
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, but not as good.
Yep.
It was barely a sequel. There you go. I know, hot take, chat. It was barely a sequel. Let's be real.
If you play 2 before 1, it's a very decent and fun game. Then
Yeah,
you play 1,
yeah,
you're like, you can do all this nonsense. You're like, yeah.
yeah. Oh man, I don't want to derail this with Dragon's Dogma, but like the fact that we had Dark Arisen and we didn't really have that in 2, I think that's really killed that.
Yep.
So. All right. Speaking of killing games, let's go to the next day here because this game is hell, literally. Because this
Oh.
week on the 24th of June in 2013, Ride to Hell Retribution had released on the PC, and it was also released on the 360 and PS3 because I played it. And boy, howdy. I don't know how you guys remember the Nintendo Seal of Quality in 1981 because they didn't want trash games to be released on the Nintendo console,
Of course.
right? Well, these guys missed the memo, 100%. Matter of fact, they threw the memo away, burnt it, shredded it. And they were like, "We're going to release this in the state it's in." So, yes, if chat, if you have not played Ride to Hell Retribution, it is arguably one of the worst games of that generation. It's bad, and I will grab some gameplay footage of this thing. Hopefully, it's terrible. Have you guys heard about this game or played this game before?
No, but this was a period in which several motorcycle road rash follow-ups had dropped, wasn't it? Like there's this, and then it wasn't Road Redemption, was it? But it was like another maybe Kickstarter game or something like that. Like no, there were like 2 or 3
It
games
was like
in this
Road.
little
Yeah,
window.
Road Redemption was one of them. Was it Road Rage? No, or is it different? I know Road Redemption. I remember seeing that box.
Mm-hmm.
This one, this one's rough.
Oh God, I forget who it was that reviewed it, but there was
I gotta see footage of this.
there was
nonsense.
one YouTuber that I used to watch. That poor sap playing through this game.
Here we go.
They had a rough time of it.
Let's pull this up. So this game felt bad to play. It did not look good. And at the same time, it had like unnecessary sex scenes in it. And they were having sex with clothes on, and I was like, so which means it was unnecessary. So it was
So they
really
were just
weird.
rubbing, like,
No, they were like full motion, like sexual position, but they had clothes on. So it's like, did they like did they not have enough time, or they were just screw it, let's just make it funny? I don't know. It was
we're
that
just gonna
bad.
hot coffee this one, huh?
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. I was like, I thought the game was bugged because it was so bad. Like, he's supposed to have clothes on. Like, it was just so unnecessary. Insert. And I think you got like your health bar increased after that act, so they were trying to do like a God of War thing as well. You know,
Oh
I
no,
think
there's
that's what they were trying to
QTEs.
do.
I have no idea what they're trying to do. Let's see if I can like find this. I don't want to show it. At the same time, I do want to show it. Terrible. So
I
it's
don't
like
even know what the fuck I'm looking at.
so it reminded me of Full Throttle, right? But terrible. Full Throttle at least had a good story and good writing, but this was like just atrociously bad. It was like maybe 1.5A for what kind of title it is. I'm trying to find the specific scene. Oh, is that it? That looks like it. Looks
This is
bad.
turbo rough looking.
Oh,
Like,
here we go. Here we go. This is
look at that
Oh,
stupid.
stiff
no.
ass hair.
Look at this.
Please don't let this channel get.
No. It's if this is on YouTube, you can watch it here. Right? It's not because this was on one of the first results. Look at that. I was
True.
like, what is this? Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. That's all I gotta say about that. It's not good. Chat, it's not good. So don't worry about this game, and then we'll move on. So
This is the weirdest lap dance I've ever seen.
it is not great. It is not.
You know what? Cinerus said it. This looks very 2009. If you if you go back to 4 years prior, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
But discount Chris Christopherson there really bugged me. That hair.
That's what I said too. I was like, we have Chris Christopherson at home. I remember that. I remember saying that. I was like, did they just get budget Chris Christopherson?
Oh my god, that was just horrifying to look at.
It was not great. No, it's still not great. Matter of fact, I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, this is not. It's just still not good. It's not even ironically good.
It's not getting better.
Yeah, it's not getting better. But anyway, other games that came out on the 24th: Persona 2, Innocent Sin, Advance Wars 2, Black Hole Rising, on a GBA in 2003. Mega Man Battle Network 3 on a GBA in 2003. Deadpool came out on the PC in 2013. Okay, actually, there's more. Samurai Showdown was re-released modern day console. Came out on basically on everything in 2020. Samurai Warriors 5 came out in 2021. Well, game called Scarlet Nexus also came out on everything in 2021 in Japan. Capcom Fighting Collection came out on everything in 2022. So apparently this is like multi-platform day. And Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes came out on the Switch in 2022. So, that saying came out on everything reminded me of those old like 80s, oh no, 90s like gaming apps. Like, Genesis, Super Nintendo, Game Boy. It came out on everything. But yeah, Scarlet Nexus, Ace. I see a note on here. What you got for us?
Oh man, to say that I have been singing the praises of this game whenever I had the chance would be an understatement. Like, Scarlet Nexus was one of those action RPGs that just it really feels like it was one of those that was criminally slept on, and it was actually one of the early titles for the PS5 that I had actually wanted to get. Like, I saw the game when it was first announced, and I'm like, okay, that game looks really cool. But with Scarlet Nexus, you are basically playing as one of two protagonists in a world that's kind of like My Hero Academia, in that society and technology have basically been built around people actually being born with some sort of psychic ability, with some sort of Esper ability. And baseline human beings are, in a lot of cases, damn near treated like second-class citizens.
Okay.
But
Reverse X-Men.
yeah, but the characters that you control, your team of characters are all, psychic energy specialists, and your two lead characters, Yuito and Kasane, actually have the ability to basically take from their allies and utilize moves based on their psychic abilities as well. So just from a mechanical standpoint, I mean, just working with the telekinesis that you start off with on its own, you've got a lot of interesting options to work with. And like mechanically, the game is just incredibly rich. But then you go to the actual storytelling and you go to the writing and how it really allows you to build up not just your connection to your characters, to your protagonists, but also to your teammates. I hold it up as one of the more criminally underrated masterclasses of gaming storytelling.
Okay. Does it have relationship charts and stuff like that too, or no?
Yeah, it's got relationship charts and mechanics where you can actually, build up your relationships with your teammates, and as you build those up, you start getting, additional abilities that you can use with them, like actually, being able to call them out for like advanced combo finishers, or again, normally your character starts with telekinesis, but like you just saw, they were actually able to borrow one of their teammates' hyperspeed for a few moments.
Okay. It's cool. So would you say that this game is kind of like gameplay wise, it's like Devil May Cry-ish? Like what do you think
Yeah.
it is? Yeah. Because I actually haven't played this game yet, but I have it like ready to be played. So super interesting. Because at first I remember watching the trailer, I thought it was like, oh god, is it another like God Eater? But I mean, you played it and it's definitely not God Eater.
Yeah, it's a character action game.
Character action game. Okay. Yeah. Well, see, that's important. Yeah, because trailers don't like, gameplay trailers, even though we see gameplay, if you don't like put hands on the game, you actually don't know what kind of game it is until, you really put your hands on it. From my experience, because like watching this from afar, I'm like, oh, is it like God Eater? Because it's Namco, right? I had similar art style. So I think that's very important that you get clarity on that. So
And
awesome.
I believe there's actually there's a demo out for this as well.
There is. This is actually, it says demo. PS5 demo. Actually, the game is also very inexpensive right now. I think you can get it right now on Namco for like $19.99. Physical copy too, so pretty cool. All right, Oliver, anything on this list that you
Not on this one. Like nothing like super wow. Like no.
Well, I don't know. You see, I noticed you had a reaction to Persona 2.
Shh. Here's the thing. I've never played Persona 2 Innocence in.
Oh, of course. Since we only got Eternal Punishment in the States.
Bingo.
Yeah, that was our limitation back in the day. We didn't get a lot of the games that came out in Japan as well.
Meanwhile,
Speaking of
we
games,
can't seem to get away from Persona 4 or 5. They're like,
Yeah,
hey, guess what we're doing? Remaking Persona 4. I'm like, yeah, you haven't stopped putting out Persona 4 since 2008. What's another decade of Persona 4, huh? Jesus Christ.
Right? 4 is the one with Joker, right? Or is that 5?
That's 5.
Okay, 4 is the one with like the fighting game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. I remember that one. All right. Well, I thought this game would have never exist in the U.S. because Namco versus Capcom was not a thing in the U.S. It was only in Japan. So the fact that Project Cross Zone showed up in stateside was quite a surprise. I mean, I'll just let Ace talk about this game because this is his game.
I keep hearing about this game, but I have no clue what the hell it actually is.
I'll find gameplay.
Yeah, but okay. The best way I can actually put this is Super Robot Wars is for fans of mecha anime what games like Namco Cross Capcom and Project Cross Zone are for
Spoilers.
JRPG and fighting game fans of between the various Sega, Namco, and Capcom properties.
Right.
So yeah, Chun-Li and Morrigan teamed up. That's old hat. That's old hat. That's something you've seen before. Although the whole format of the combat itself is actually really interesting because you use the directional buttons to trigger the attacks based on
Oh my.
Yeah. Oh, and Morrigan also with new sprites. Think about that.
Visually, this game is like super appealing, and man, they have a lot of characters in this game. I think this is why like the charm of this game is there. The amount of characters and art that's just floating around in this thing.
Yeah.
Right. Celebration of the two companies with their characters and franchises.
It really is.
That's the guy from Fighting Vipers.
Yep.
What's he doing here?
Cross Zone 2 got Sega to Sanshiro.
See, and that's what I'm talking about. You're out of nowhere. The guy from Fighting Vipers that two people in chat know. If that's too many, if anything, right? Is in a game. This is the why it's super cool. Pai and Akira, of course, from Virtua Fighter.
I mean, it's honestly, playing the actual game. Like when it gets to these combat segments, it's almost like you're pretty much playing a fighting game.
Who are these two?
Raging and Shaolin, those are actually the two main characters from Namco Cross Capcom.
Oh, okay. See, that's why I didn't.
So they were, they're kind of like the Harley Quinn in that they're original characters that were actually popular enough that they were brought back for later games.
Yeah. Well, like their series is Namco Cross Capcom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, cool design. The guy looks like Soul Bad Guy a little bit. What am I watching? Right? This is crazy.
That's what you're watching.
This is crazy, dude. Oh, God Eater. Okay, we got to keep going. This looks so cool.
Project Cross Zone was also the first game that actually introduced me to those three maniacs from God Eater before I actually got into the games.
Bro, what's this guy? Oh my, is that Sakura Wars guy? And
yeah, it's
Dimitri and Dante.
It's Sega, Capcom, and Bandai Namco all together in one game.
See, that's too powerful. We can't imagine a fighting game that had a triple crossover. I would lose my mind. Right. That's too much. Too much. All right, while we're watching this insanity here, I'll read off some of the stuff that came out on the 25th as well. Lufia and the Fortress of Doom on the Super Nintendo in 1993 in Japan. Ark the Lad, Twilight of the Spirits on the PS2 in 2000. Spec Ops The Line on PC in 2012. Really good third-person shooter. I recommend you guys check that one out. And Fire Emblem Fates on the 3DS in 2015 in Japan. The sequel to the Awakening, I believe. Not really a direct sequel. Yeah, look at this madness. There's a lot of numbers. If you like numbers, this is the game for you. And Valkyria Chronicles, what is happening here? Okay, that's insane, guys. It's almost like a fun game to figure out where these characters are from. So, but like the amount of sprite work that was done in this is actually what's impressive. So many sprites of every character from 3 series. The artist for this game must have been like working overtime. Or the sprite artist, at least. That's the guy from Shining Force Exa. What? That is a random ad in this Tekken team up. All right, that's wild. All right,
and again, it only gets wilder in 2.
It's just funny every time I say like, oh, this character and like from obscure game, they show up, and I'm like, what? That's crazy. Oliver, anything on that list that strike a brow?
Nope, there's nothing. No? Literally nothing for me in that list.
Yeah, there was really nothing that. A lot of.
And 2012 was a year for me, man. Like there was a lot going on, but just
but not this day.
Yeah. Right, just not this time.
Yeah, I recommend Spec Ops: The Line for those checking out third-person shooters. It was one of those games that had a really good narrative. You play like Call of Duty Man, but it's Call of Duty Man with like almost like this like air of mystery and thriller. I know that's hard to believe for a Call of Duty game or ish game, like a third-person military shooter game, but check it out. You'll see what I'm talking about. All right, next day, 26th. All right, Shovel Knight came out on the 3DS, PC, and Wii U in 2014. Shovel Knight, I believe at the time when I was working at Reset, I think everyone at the store and clients they were like, "This is the return of the retro. Like Shovel Knight is the way." Like everybody was like all about Shovel Knight, and it almost started like this mini cult of like retro is back, baby. And Shovel Knight is leading the charge. So I played it, solid gameplay. Feels like a retro, really tight knit retro game. Yeah, I don't know. Have you guys played Shovel Knight or have any input on it?
It was one of the first. No, excuse me. It was the first serious game stream that I ever did on Twitch.
Oh, nice.
Right, and every couple of years I come back to it. I wanted to hate that shit so bad when it first came out, but it's brilliant. It is brilliant execution of that older style of game design. Like, you can clearly tell that not only did the guys that made it grew up with it, they fundamentally understood it. I could almost feel the Sunsoft hatred coming off of it. Like, oh, there it is. You were like, how hard could this be? You could tell. You can just look at it and you go, oh, you definitely played Mega Man coming up. Oh, you definitely played Blaster Master coming up. Right? You definitely played DuckTales. Like, oh, I'm having Scrooge McDuck flashbacks right now. Just thinking about it. That shit is horrifying. But they got it. They
understood
nailed
the
it.
assignment.
They understood the fucking assignment, man. It was just like,
Seems.
and honest to God, just looking at it, when they were like, yeah, we're actually gonna do like all this DLC, we're gonna have this entire treasure trove. I was like, y'all are full of shit, because nobody can commit past next Tuesday as far as game development goes these days. Oh, we got a whole plan, we got a battle pass, and then in 3 months that shit goes south. They followed the fuck through. It took them some time, but they sure did. They did every single one of those damn DLCs. I'm like, look at you. Right? And the fact that they're like, nope, if you buy the big old goofy one before the DLC had all dropped, they're like, nope, if you pay for it now, you're good until we get it done. And it took them like, God, how many fucking years was it? Like, what was it? The King Knight was the last DLC, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. But yeah, it took a hot
just
minute.
a couple years ago. Like, it took them like 6 or 7 years or some nonsense like that. Like, it was like, whoa.
Is that the one after Plague Knight? I know Plague Knight is one for real.
Mm-hmm.
There must have been another one after that.
Because Plague Knight was fucking crazy. That shit was actually just Tony Hawk with with the bubonic plague. Yeah, he's doing a kick flip off, pop shove it off of leprosy. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, no, it was wild, but yeah, they really followed through, and every DLC was one so just expansive. It was so complete. I was like, this isn't DLC. These are just separate fucking games at this point.
Yeah,
Right? It's not like played the same level with a different character. No, they had their own damn levels.
They took it so retro. They took it so old school with it that the DLCs with each of the characters was just a full blown expansion.
But in fact, I'm checking the dates on that stuff right now. So, so Plague of Shadows was September 17th of 2015. And then Spectre of Torment was April 25th of 2017. And then finally, King of Cards was December 10th of 2019. So yeah, they worked on that shit for some time. And I was like, oh, this can't be a thing. No, it's a masterwork. It's a masterwork game. It's brilliant. It's everything that you would hope to see of a mixture of new technology, old style design principles, and especially the it ain't broke, so we're not going to fix it
Yeah.
mentality. That style of game is not broken. There's nothing to fix here, right? So
And they
no,
did they
they
just
did great.
optimized it to its most fun, most purest form, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and your Jacobs is right. Like this is why I say he's like Shovel Knight was leading the charge for the indie scene, because we did see him on a lot of indie stuff. So he was almost like a mascot for like the indie like scene, right? Like they did it, so we can do it too. And Shovel Knight is our hero for that kind of like, right? Yeah, 2D, 3D parallax. Yeah, there's so many games that spawned off the success of this game. Same. It was almost like indie shovelware at that point, because there's so many. And I remember one called like there was I don't know. It was like almost like a Castlevania game, but it wasn't Castlevania, right? And it looked like this, and I was like, I think it was called Daedalus or something, and it was it it played like Simon's Quest, right? I can't remember exactly what it wasn't. Bloodstained. It was like trying to remember what it was. Started with a D. It was
Oh
very difficult. It was not Inferno.
no, I know exactly what you're
And it
talking
came with a
about.
bundle. There was a 2-pack of it too, with like another game.
I'm trying to think of it.
Not sure if he had chainmail.
No.
It looked like he had like leather on for to start with, or he was a barbarian. And you got more abilities as you went, and then since you had more abilities, you can go back to the other stages and go to.
No, maybe I'm mistaken. I thought you were thinking about Infernax.
Yeah, Jagos was saying Infernix, but I don't think it was Infernix.
Now you see, with all these different indie developers, really like, taking inspiration from various games, or making games that feel like such massive callbacks, like like how this is like a massive callback to Mega Man. I would love to see freaking Demon's Crest return in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, 100%. That is like a game that they missed opportunity for Capcom, because I feel like the guys in the up top, they're like, one, who knows about Demon Crest, and two, are we gonna really make a 2D sprite? You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna
Well,
make it 3D, like what did it
people
with
know
Super
about
Ghosts and Ghosts,
Firebrand thanks to Marvel 3.
right? But it's all the guys in the suits, not the guys in the dev room. You know what I'm saying? Like they can make the call. That's the one
Yeah,
unfortunate part is.
it's the guys in the suits, not the ones in the trenches.
Yeah, because they're the ones that go, okay, you're clear for that. Like we'll give you the money.
And that's why we need an indie team to go, okay, y'all ain't bringing back Demon's Crest. We'll do something about that ourselves.
Yeah, no, and that's why I appreciate the indie scene, and I honestly feel like games like developers and publishers like Capcom, they need to understand they need that part in their company, because they have IPs that they can make indie games with, and then that could, like I said this on chat before, on stream before, they can use the margins on that to fuel their other ventures, like the big projects, right? But then we still get like a small Demon Crest game somewhere, or a Breath of Fire game, right? And make it decent, and then it actually also shows us like an interest for like, oh man, all these people bought Demon's Crest, maybe we should make a AAA Demon's Crest game, stuff like that. So, but to them, they're like all in or nothing.
It makes me think. I mean, they did just do Ghosts and Goblins a few years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Resurrected?
Resurrection, I think. Yeah.
Resurrection.
Or was it
yeah.
Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins?
No, it was a remade one, new models and everything. It was still bad because the jumping is terrible.
Yeah, it was rough. That game will beat you up. I mean, but that's the top tier hater. That's the final boss of
Yeah.
video games that hate children. Has just been Ghosts and Goblins. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna be Arthur. Next thing you know, you're getting your shit blasted out nonstop. You walk 3 feet, and it's like getting hit by a car going 85 miles an hour. and your goofy butt gets up and decides to do it again, not realizing you're going to keep getting run over. that Lamborghini's just going to keep mowing your ass down until you learn to not get that street. Man, I only played through one of those damn games. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. No, that one just it clicked. It clicked, but no, the rest of them are just absolute savage takedown. No. But the reason I mention it is because that's where Firebrand comes from, right? So, and if they did one of those games recently, I would say there's an outside chance it could happen. I mean, look, Ace is 100% right on this one. That's a certified classic. I sat down probably 2 years ago and was like, yeah, you know what? I haven't played that in a long time. I should stream it. And it was still just incredible. It was just beautiful until I got to that secret boss shit. Woo! I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to take my win and go home. I'm not doing this. This is crazy fucking bullshit. Again, oh, look, Super Nintendo game hates children. I'm just saying there's a theme. I don't know any kid with the kind of patience to put up with that one. I'd rather tell a kid to go play through Ninja Gaiden.
But I feel like
Ninja Gaiden.
Every dev in the 80s hated kids because, god dang, all those games were crazy hard.
That's what I'm saying. They're like, yeah, we don't like kids, but we'll take that kid money. I'm like, oh, goodness.
It's like you might as well go play Ninja Turtles, not the arcade one.
All right, let me list off the other games that came out in the 26th here because I'm like mentally obsessed with finding that game I'm talking about. Lunar, the Silver Star, also came out on the Sega CD in 1992 in Japan. Dynasty Tactics 2 on the PlayStation in 2003 in Japan. Beautiful Joe made its debut on the GameCube in 2003 in Japan. Grim Grimoire on the PS2 in 2007, another Vanillaware game y'all should check out. The first Overlord on the PC came out on the 360 in 2007 also. The Amazing Spider-Man came out on everything in 2012. Freedom Wars on the Vita in 2014 in Japan. And Dead Cells, another Metroidvania game. Roguelite, I think is more like it, on the Linux and Mac 2018. So, a lot of good stuff during that day.
Now I forget, but I think I actually reviewed Amazing Spider-Man. But I remember having a fun time with that one because it was the web rush mechanic.
Yes.
Like, that was one of, like, real talk, Amazing Spider-Man when it comes to traversal is easily in my top 3 Spider-Man games.
I do remember playing that one too, because I haven't played the PS4 5 version, the new one by Insomniac. Is it Insomniac?
Yeah, not the Insomniac one. This, when Amazing Spider-Man came out, that was still when
it's Activision, right?
Yeah, Activision and Beanox.
Yeah, and it was still good and from what I played, it felt good still. Like it wasn't like that quality that we're seeing now, but like it was still fun, But Spider-Man had a lot of experience in the PlayStation era. Like they started PS1 all the way to 2 and 3. They had a lot of practice making Spider-Man.
There were a lot of damn Spider-Man games covering those 3 eras. No, they went bonkers.
I think it's because it's a Sony IP, right? That's why they were like, put it on the PlayStation, put it on the 2, put it on the 3. Matter of fact, the PlayStation 3 had a Spider-Man font when it first came out. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Oh,
all right.
You brought up the Spider-Man font. Oh no. Oh jeez.
627. Tokiden on the PS Vita and the PSP came out in 2013 in Japan. If y'all don't know what Tokiden is, chat, it is the Japanese version of Mythological Demons, but it's a Monster Hunter game. Made by Koei Tecmo and I think W Force. They made a console version called Kiwami. And also Tokiden 2 came out on console as well. Super cool game. If you like the aesthetic of Japanese mythology and warriors, and Monster Hunter, this is like the game for you. I'll pull up some screens or a video here in a minute, but I'll name off some of the other games before I do that. Some other games that came out on the 27th, Mischief Makers on the N64 in 1997 in Japan. The first Gundam Breaker on the PS3 in 2013 in Japan. A roguelite called Rogue Legacy on the PC in 2013. Valkyria Revolution on the PS4, and Vita, and Xbox One in 2017. So, any of those games or Tokiden guys?
I had Tokiden Kiwami for a while, and I had picked up 2 at some point, but I definitely need to get those games back because I had a lot of fun with my time on those.
Yeah,
Tokiden was definitely a game where I realized that someone could legitimately challenge Capcom on the monster hunting throne. And Tokiden was great conceptually, but Koei Tecmo pretty consistently has this problem of they just don't execute on the same level as Capcom. Even then, I remember with Tokiden coming out and then Soul Sacrifice coming out, and Ace has heard plenty from me about Soul Sacrifice over the years.
Man. I'm with you on that.
They did a crossover with Tokiden, so you were fighting those demons in Soul Sacrifice and getting their parts and making spells out of that. I was like, this is brilliant stuff. Like, oh no, like they're so good at it. I mean, when you go from Tokiden to Tokiden 2 to Wild Hearts, you can see the actual progression path here, and I think they finally got their thing down with Wild Hearts. The problem is that nobody played Wild Hearts.
Yeah.
Just enough people played Wild Hearts to go, hey, that game was actually pretty all right. Was it perfect? Fuck no. Right? But it was definitely an idea, and it's an enjoyable one, and they, are able to go, we're doing something that Monster Hunter isn't doing. Right? We're letting you have more control over the game world and stuff like that. So I definitely want to see these guys keep trying with that. Keep trying with Tokiden. Keep trying with Wild Hearts. Like, as long as you're breaking even, keep attempting and polishing these ideas, because we definitely need more competition in that hunting space, right?
I was going to say that, like, Monster Hunter needs to be like threatened in a way, right? Because I don't know if maybe it's just me, guys, but like the latest Wilds game is so lacking in content. I like forget about it all the time. Maybe it's a development thing, but I feel like there's just nothing there after a while. You're just like, it's gone. So if I was a Hunter fan, what other Hunter game would I be playing right now? Like, think about it. What about you guys? I want to know if you were bored in Monster Hunter Wilds, what would you be playing aside from Wilds for a hunting game?
God Eater.
God Eater. No, okay. Aside from everything else that's released recently. That's what I mean. Like, they don't have competition right now. Right? So
That's
like,
true.
I would say like Wild Hearts would be your best one. It's the most latest one, right? But is there one that I'm missing? Like, there's nothing else. Rise, but it's the same company, right?
The next closest thing that you could really tell anybody, like, okay, if you still want to get that fix, I mean, it's not going to have the same depth, but something different, something unique, enjoyable, I'm going to tell people to go play Freedom Wars. Right? I went bananas all over that shit.
Came out recently.
I championed the shit out of that. I was like, this shit was the greatest thing ever on Vita. And people were like, oh, hey, you know what? He's right. This is pretty all right. I was like, I told you. It does one of these numbers. It's a chip, right? Like, it's not a whole fucking bag of potato chips, but it's a little grab bag. Just like, hey, you're pretty good. Like,
I'm telling you, man. Like, Freedom Wars with the rope mechanic, like the chain mechanic. I thought, like, I was like, Capcom, pay attention to this game. I don't know why this mechanic makes me so hyped. But like, having like all your hunters chain down a monster and it's just wiggling its way out. Super cool. Right.
Yeah, imagine being able to do something like that with the wire bugs in Rise, or
that's what I'm saying, man. Or like a chain harpoon that's like another weapon or something to help like support, like a support class or support weapon for Monster Hunter.
Like a mini Dragonator or something.
Yeah, there you go. They already have it. It's called the mini Dragonator.
And yet, here we are. But it's just like you said with Wilds. It's like something is missing. Something's off, and we've had months to sit and think about it. I think that it really just comes down to the content was so underbalanced and so easy to challenge and tackle right out the gate that by the time you got to endgame, I mean, come on, we've all seen the fights go 5 minutes at most, and it's like, man, I'm used to a hunt going 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they're scrambling to catch up. I'm not sure if you saw. I mean, I saw it mentioned on Twitter maybe a few days ago, but even stockholders in Capcom are going, "What are you guys going to do to fix this problem?" I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like everyone notices that this is not working, and basically they were just like, "Well, we're going to continue to do title updates," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's what they do. I mean, how else are they supposed to fix it?" But it's enough that it's become a major concern because it's so out of character for these guys. And now you got homie sitting there looking at Monster Hunter Rise like Thanos, be like, perhaps I was too hard on you.
Seriously.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like Rise was more challenging than this. Like, oh, yeah, maybe
Yeah,
we beat up
they
on you a
even
little
were
too
like,
much.
we're gonna put an arch-tempered monster in here, and it still's not good enough for for the squad that
No,
because you grind it. The
limited
game's
time.
grindy. You know.
And a limited time arc tempered monster at that.
Yeah, it's
They
like
didn't do that in World.
they're giving us like demo level like challenges. Like here's your trash gear, and you only have 20 minutes to kill this thing that's like super high level, right? It's like no one's gonna underpower their character on purpose to create a challenge. No, you have to bring the challenge to the players, so they want to get their best gear, bring their best self, and beat the challenge, right? Maybe we're just like there's a expansion that's coming out that we just don't know about, and they're working on that, and they're being super secret about it, right? So maybe
Yeah,
we'll
I
see.
mean that's actually pretty stock standard for them. Like usually within a year or so
Yeah,
is when
Like, y'all better
their
be working on
expanded
that.
or master version, and I would guess that they're gonna throw a major rebalance of the entire game behind that.
yeah,
Just like with Sunbreak.
yeah. I feel that too. I feel like the wounding mechanic. I think that broke the game. And because it causes knockdown. On the
Yeah, and
thing.
hard flinches and all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, stuff like that. Because I noticed that too. I'm not a great Monster Hunter player, but like the knockdown with the wounding, I was like, this is free hits, and you get that so often with like 4 players. It's not great for the monster.
In fact, that's specifically a thing that they had to address with
Yeah,
these art tempered monsters going, "Oh, hey, we're turning down how often they get wounded
yeah,
by a huge degree." Like I think we did art tempered Ray Dow a couple of times, and we literally barely wounded that guy, and we were like
good.
pounding on his skull. And it's like that's how poorly you guys did this stuff. I think that Capcom needs to take a step back and realize for a moment, right? Just consider that your series has finally hit a bloat point where you're now adding in so many systems that are now starting to cause serious problems with each other. I love the idea of wounds. I think it's a great idea, but it's not working. It's just not. It's just not. You made these huge wide open world. It's like, oh, that's great, but there's not a whole lot to actually do within that space. It does not feel like traversing the map in Monster Hunter World, where it felt like a normal map, but just bigger, right? And the rooms still mattered, and what you could do within those spaces still matters. It's just not the same in Wilds at all. I think the only good thing about Wilds is that pretty much every weapon feels great to play. It
Mhm.
just feels really nice and smooth, and they're just enjoyable. Like to handle each weapon feels
There's a
really
weapon
nice.
for everyone, pretty much.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really, really, really works.
Not Ace though. No gloves yet. There you go, Ace. Petition that. More weapons,
no gloves,
please.
and they still refuse to bring over the Tonfas from Frontier.
Yeah, they already have the skeleton for the Tonfas. They could easily just be like, "Hey, we added Tonfas that was featured in Frontier." Like I don't know, maybe. Anyway, move on to the last day of the week here, and it's not me. It's Kingpin, Life of Crime. Yeah. So, guys,
Never heard
in
of that.
1999, there were a lot of crazy games that came out. This was one of them. Do you guys even know what this game looks like aesthetically? First of all, it's a first-person shooter, right? And it is the character designs for this game were like Gears of War thick neck level. And I'll show you right now in this gameplay. And if anybody in chat has played this game, I tip my hat to you because this was a weird gem in 1999, and I do remember hacking this game, or what do you call that? So I play for free. I forgot what it's called.
That's not it.
No,
right?
that's half.
Because I was gonna shit myself. Like,
There you go.
yo, what a bait and switch of a box art.
What the?
Like, god damn, what the hell
Look
is
at-
this?
Look at the character design. Yeah, they were thick neck dudes, man. I'm telling you, it was so grungy and like it. What is this? It was.
And suddenly,
an
Marcellus
interesting-
Wallace.
It was an interesting. I think this is like, oh, it's a review. Yeah, it was just like Half-Life with like streets of New York, right? But the art direction was really, really interesting. As a lot, it was very violent, very bloody, and there was like a slight like story and like selection of prompts you can choose to like respond to the people. So there's a little bit of like RPG Mass Effect thing going on, but not enough to be like a different game. It was still a first-person shooter. I think they were just going for like, you know, how much 1999 can we make this game, right?
Evidently.
Yeah, it was kind of like semi-open world too. I remember playing this and having a good time, but at the same time, you know, I didn't spend any money on it, so I was like, it's a pretty cool game, you know, but I don't remember beating it either, so it wasn't a great game. Also, just sewer fight. Yeah, this is it. It's very brown, very gray. So, also, I wasn't a big PC player, so if you guys, anybody PC gamers out there, if y'all remember this game, I am sorry. That's all I gotta say. I am sorry. Other games that came out on the 28th, Diablo 2. I should have picked that instead because I played that a lot on the PC in 2000. Shadow Hearts on the PS2 in 2001 in Japan. Golden Sun, The Lost Age, and the Game Boy Advance in 2002 in Japan. Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3, PS3, 360 in 2011. Super Mario Maker 2 on the Switch in 2019. And a game that I wish had more players, DNF Duel, Who's Next on PS4, PC, and PS5 in 2022. Because that was actually a really fun fighting game while it lasted. Ace, I see a note here for Shadow Hearts. Please, take it away. Because
Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3.
I thought you would have picked that one too.
But Shadow Hearts definitely, that's the one that really, that's the one that really captured my heart for listing for this day because it's such a unique experience. Not just storytelling wise with the alternate history Europe that this takes place in, but also you will recognize some of the elements of the combat in this game as part of the inspiration for Expedition 33.
Ooh, oh yeah.
Because this was
wheels.
Yeah, with this you had what was known as the Judgment Ring system. So all of your actions were basically determined by how accurate you were at making sure that the cursor on the ring lands within specific targets. One to activate the action, one to activate, what type of effect it would have. And then, once you actually landed those hits in the ring, that's when your moves and even your items would actually set off. It's definitely one of those games where you're not quite sure what's going on with the combat at first because it's like, okay, it's not just like a command, there's this extra active element to it. But as you play through the game, you start getting better at landing, not just landing the cursor, and you get better at working with your accuracy with using the Judgment Ring, but also it makes combat more interactive, frankly.
Yeah, that's super cool. Oh man, I got to tell you right now, if you have a perspective issue, that ring is a problem. Like I am like, where is the line at? I can't
Yeah,
tell.
it'll start being a problem. But there are also like different special items and abilities that you can get over the course of the game, which actually helps you like expand the target areas and
Oh, okay.
even the critical areas too. So there's ways to make it easier on yourself as you go through the game, but it's
Did
still
did
going to require
the
you.
did Sandfall ever mention this? This was an inspiration for their game.
I think they did.
They did.
I believe so.
Shadow Hearts, yeah.
Yeah.
I could have swore I heard a dude talking about that, like it was a huge deal for him. Like this is one of his goated games.
Yeah, yeah, and like what you were saying earlier, like they made a game based on the games that they played, right? And I think that's why it's so important that we have these devs have history with playing certain games, because you ask a CEO like, you game, they're like, no. Well, how do you know if it's good or bad? Like, well, that's up to the devs, and hopefully the devs play other games aside from the ones that they're making, because sometimes taking a formula like this, it's like as simple as a ring that's you hit a trigger whenever it hits a certain area, right? And next thing you know, we get a game like Expedition 33 because of it. So it's because it's inspired by this, So and they just made something and it made it better. So hopefully, Sony, you're watching Legend of Dragoon, please. I would love that. Even if it's a remaster or a remake or a sequel, that would be awesome. I'll take anything. I'm thirsty. Give me something. All right, guys.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
I was about to say, and of course, one more thing that basically had me hooked on this game: the simple fact that your main protagonist is a brawler.
Yeah, no, I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, that explains a lot. Plus, he's wearing a trench coat. That was kind of cool too. Trench coat brawler is always like a good thing in my opinion. So
I mean,
yeah,
that was that was so far up my alley. It should have been paying rent.
you're all about it. But yes, that was your week in gaming history. All right, y'all. So it's been a hot minute since we got a little bit of the tech here with the Blazing Ace Nelson. And he's he's bringing back the tech with some new tech from a game called Wendigo Blue. But I'll let him take the lead on this one as he shows us the ropes on this brand new beat 'em up.
Absolutely, I would be more than happy to. Now, considering that a while back I was doing character breakdowns for City of the Wolves, and today we got our first DLC character with Andy. That would have been my pick for this week. But Wendigo Blue pretty much kind of took over everything. And the thing is, as I was streaming other games, there were a couple of folks in the chat that were actually talking about it. Blue was like one of the first people that I heard about this game from, and I'm like, Wendigo Blue, what's that? And he was mentioning
Nice.
a beat 'em up with roguelike elements, and it's like, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that one. And then Din the Abari, who actually was also one of the who was actually part of the team that even though he's got small credits, he was part of the team that worked on Streets of Rage 4. He showed off one of the combo trials in this game, and he said two words that hooked me: chain grabs.
Throw combos are always good.
Right?
Clark is one of my favorite KOF characters.
And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute, chain grabs? Show me.
Kung Fu? Show me.
Right? And now I'm about to show y'all. Now, to cover the basics for Wendigo Blue, your 4 characters, or 5 once you unlock the newest one, but your characters are a part of a team, part of a Vanguard expeditionary force that actually seeks out the different gods from from like alternate dimensions that are actually trying to invade your world. And like probably the coldest thing that I have the coldest thing that I have seen in recent memory in a video game was part of this game's intro, just kind of describing the world, talking about how, you know, different gods from different worlds have always, have been trying to, breach the barrier and come through and take over our world, trying to take things from us. But one thing they don't know is that our world is where gods come to die. And your team is what's responsible for that.
All your fault.
So let me go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and pull up the combo trials, because what I want to do for this edition of the tech is actually showcase each of the characters, just very briefly in order to show off what they can do. Now, part of your, aside from choosing from one of your characters, each one of them has a specific role that they play as far as like how they control. So you have Irina and Yuichi, who are basically your two grapplers. You have your more speed-based characters like Aenir and Gilroy. Be careful when choosing her. She is very squishy. Like she cannot take much of a hit at the start of the game, but what she has as part of her kit compensates for that. And then there's of course Blue, who is your all-rounder. And actually, you know what? I will go ahead and start with Blue. So again, this is just to give you a general overview.
Art's so cool.
Right? This is going to give you a general overview of, how you're going to be going about the game. So this is going to play like your classic, belt scrolling, left to right beat 'em up.
Right.
You've got your standard movement from walking, running. Now, double tapping left or right is going to have you run. Double tapping up or down will give you your side steps, and those are going to come in handy when you're dealing with certain enemies that actually have like, attacks that'll come at you in a line, and there's going to be call outs for that.
There's not enough beat 'em ups that have that. I always like that when that shows up.
Now, for your for your actual offense, for your combat, you've got two different types of attacks. Now, you've got your regular attacks, and every character that you've got has them. So you've got unarmed, pure brawling melee attacks, which can be modified with the directional buttons, so you can do stuff like slides, or say, if you do like down up in one of the attacks, you have your launchers like, Alien versus Predator. But then you also have weapon attacks, because each character has a specific signature weapon. So with Blue, you've of course got, you've got her axe. And just as with the regular attacks, you can modify them based on whether or not you're in the air or, using the directional buttons. In order to do magic with those attacks, you'll be charging up the meter that you see in the upper left underneath their health. So once you've got a mana gauge ready to go, if you do any of their weapon attacks and you hold the button down as you do so, that triggers their elemental specialty. For Blue, it's ice. And enough ice procs will actually freeze your opponents in place, which can eventually allow you to shatter them for major damage. Jumping into the stats and equipment for everybody, you will notice that yes, not just health points, but there's basic listings for all of your stats, which, great thing about this game is that it tells you exactly, like it lets you know what each of the stats is supposed to do for you. And that includes your elemental affinities as well. So we've got, light and darkness, you've got electric, toxic, ice, and fire. And as you build up those affinities through your equipment and through leveling up, you'll get certain effects. So, since Blue is pretty much the ice character, not only will she be taking reduced damage from ice, but she'll also have an increase to ice based elements that she can cast using the soul orbs, which is part of your equipment. So aside from your weapons, your characters can equip bracers on their left and their right. Same with rings. And then, of course, you have your amulet and your soul orb. I'll jump into what each of the equipment does in a moment. But let's deal with a couple other things, because aside from signature weapons and elements, each character also has a unique ability. That's a unique character ability. Blue, the title character of the game, is the Wendigo. As she lands kills, she goes into, she can go into a, berserker rampage mode where she does even more damage. And also, as per her namesake, she actually absorbs the souls of enemies that she kills in order to get her buffs in that rampage mode. So while she is the all-arounder, she's built, largely for offense. While we're still on the topic of the basic controls, though, let me go over a couple more things for you. Of course, you can't have a good side-scrolling beat 'em up without being able to jump. Now, this game is pretty damn responsive and pretty damn fast-paced, which can be seen by, actually being able to jump cancel out of your attacks. Of course, it's for the normal attacks. So, if you're going to use your weapon attacks, basically use those as your combo finishers. But they also address one particular issue that tends to happen in a lot of beat 'em ups, and that's proximity grappling. You'll notice how more often than not in beat 'em ups, when you just walk up on an enemy, once your character collides with them, they go into a grab automatically, right? But it
Yep.
can tend to mess up your movement when you're trying to reposition. They fix that by making it so that you can only grapple if you run up to an opponent.
Interesting. Is running a double tap or a button?
Both, actually. Running is double tap and hold, and it's also dedicated to a button.
Okay.
So let's say if you're doing certain combos where you need to actually incorporate dash attacks, like that, then you can just hold forward while you're doing your thing. And you can either use that for grab canceling, or going into your dash attacks after a certain number of hits. So it's really neat how mechanically this game actually tries to address a lot of pain points that were previously in some of the older school beat 'em ups.
How many
So
moves are per character typically? Are you getting to that?
moves per character?
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked. So yeah, you can pause and go to a command list. So you've got the different moves. Most characters have roughly 9 or 10 specific moves that you can do either with their weapons. Like I said, if you use down or up or dash and then use their weapons. You've got different moves for that, and the same thing for different command normals or command attacks. Now let's go ahead and switch characters. So yeah, like I said, Blue is your main all rounder. She's good with offense, and her. That's another thing I need to mention. Each character also has different skill trees that you can actually access over the course of each run.
I think roguelite is an integral piece to making beat 'em ups more interesting in the future. It doesn't have to be completely roguelite, but a mode that's roguelite, I think it'd make the beat 'em up more interesting.
Something that will at least allow you to play around with different builds and
Yeah.
put together different play styles for each of the characters. Now, each character has three different skill trees originating from a base skill, and then you've got different modifiers which also add passive buffs to your stats. And once you go down the tree far enough, you unlock class skills. Now, with class skills, it's literally, you can pick a particular class like Berserker or Templar, Fighter, Assassin. And each of those has like a set of stats and unique abilities which are added onto your character to augment what they can already do. One of my personal favorites is the Bodyguard class skill. It increases your health, and it gives you a guaranteed chance for blunt attacks to cause stun. Blunt attacks also including your standard unarmed attacks as well. But there's also a class that actually makes it to where, edged attacks, so stuff with like, any sort of blade that you might be using, has a chance to cause bleeding and, additional damage over time there. And then all of those lead down to eventually unlocking a special, a special final skill for each character. With Blue, the Death Eater blade, massive sword attack. Anything it kills increases her attack power. So again, she's literally just, I am here to mess you up, and then get stronger while I'm doing it.
She's Onimusha.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Thank you. Now that I've made that connection, that's going to make my next runs with her even more unique. Well, let's go ahead and switch characters really quick. We've got 5 to go through. I'm going to do maybe like another 2 more just to show off the different play styles. So again, Blue's your all-arounder. Now for one of the speed types, I did mention Anir was an interesting choice. Now for your speed type characters, Anir is more tactical, whereas Gilroy is your aerial specialist. Actually, let's do Joker palette Gilroy. Now, pretty much taking cues from his wingless dragon motif that they mentioned about him in the game. Firstly, Gilroy is a toxic element character, and he's the only one, because him being a speed type, he's the only one that actually has multiple attacks for his weapon. But he also has the longest standard combo string of the cast so far.
I'll always enjoy a character that always has his arms folded when he walks.
Now, setting him up for his mid-air shenanigans all starts off of that uppercut right there. Dang it, don't grab him. Case in point. Now, Gilroy's playstyle, again, it's all about focusing on his speed and getting him in the air. So while he's dishing out damage over time with his toxic abilities, we go into his skills, and one of his base skills, Wingless Dragon, that gives you a second air jump to keep you in the air even longer. And as you stay airborne, you can eventually open up different modifiers which give you additional defense, which give you health recovery, which gives you, which allows you to build up your evasion again. So literally you can build up like multiple charges of evasion while you were still in midair. And even if you actually evade in midair, that resets how many air jumps you have. Get in the air, stay in the air, do truckloads of damage, and then you've also got his ultimate ability, which is a full screen attack. Deadly Venoms, that right there gives you more options for how you apply your toxin damage. So you can increase your status chance, do additional damage to afflicted targets, have enemies explode with toxic gas when you kill them with toxin. And also healing when you poison an enemy. So again, with Gilroy, it's finding different ways to, keep yourself alive, keep yourself in the fight just through passive abilities, while again, casting poison, staying in midair. There's a part in the game when the quartermaster for the expeditionary force is actually talking to Gilroy about his reputation preceding him as being the son of a dragon who was born literally without wings. And he says, you don't need wings. It's like, you don't need wings to fly and dominate the sky. All you have to do is just make sure that anything flying in your presence gets struck down.
No one's flying.
But what if I can't reach him? Jump.
Sounds like my PE coach.
Right? It's like all that literally right there wrapped up in his gameplay style. So if you're looking for a high-speed character that does a lot of mounting damage over time, and if you're an insect glaive main and like to stay in the air all the time, Gilroy's going to be your go-to.
Gilroy is the air master of this game.
Mm-hmm. But then let's go to the character that sold me on this. Now, Irena is an interesting character in that, yes, she is something of a grappler, but her main, the gateway into picking up her playstyle in this actually does revolve around her weapon. A gun hammer.
So she's from Bloodborne. I got
it. Now, her main skills, one of them actually involves one of them actually involves taking up a counter stance, either with her hammer or unarmed. That move right there that I just did. Firstly, between her element and her, between her innate element and her weapon, she's a lightning and fire, dual specialist. And with enough of a buildup, you can actually cause paralysis and shock in any enemies that you hit. But like I said, her combo trials, especially the later ones, involve that. Chaining from her aerial diving grab into that wall fling.
Does she have an Azuna drop though? I feel like for a lightning character, you gotta have that.
She doesn't have an Azuna drop, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of the later characters they add to this does.
The one that you did in the air was kind of an Azuna drop, right? Oh, it's more like a power bomb.
Yeah. More like Alex's power bomb.
Yeah. Yo, let's go.
And she's also the only character that can actively throw her weapon. And one of the abilities that you can pick up with her allows her to use lightning magic to retrieve it. So basically, imagine if Captain America threw a hat. Okay, Captain America in Endgame. You throw your hammer and call it back. But yeah, just that simple thing alone, with just being able to chain together her two grabs in rapid succession to just fling enemies across the screen like that hooked me. And sometimes it's as simple as that. Just one little thing that you see in a game, like how thanks to Oliver, I got hooked on Warframe back in 2019.
Not my fault.
Yes, it's your fault. You showed off the space chucks.
I didn't do anything. I was just here.
You showed off the space chucks.
Space chuck.
Yeah, that's what they are. It's like, no, you nunchucking in space. I was like, oh, okay. I just wanted to know what we were doing, and that's how you ended up there.
Yeah, I almost said back in 1999. Oh my god.
Don't play Right to Hell.
No. But really quickly, let me go ahead and show off the newest character that they actually added to the game, at the very least prior to when I picked this up. Now, before I even pick him, I got to go through some of his color palettes. To one in particular, Oliver, GQ, thank me later.
Bold claim. Let's see.
Now, as I've mentioned it to some of the others that have been watching me play this, Yuichi is a grappler bard.
All right, I'll give you credit. You don't ever see that. That's not a thing.
Yeah, nobody wants to get their ass beat to a soundtrack though.
Mm-hmm.
No, listen, it's background music. Every good hero should have some. But actually, no. Yuichi's not just a grappler bard. He's a grappler hunting horn main. Because each of his different guitar attacks triggers a specific buff, or triggers various buffs depending on which attack you hit with. And it's of course, when you do the modified versions when you've got an elemental charge. But between actually utilizing his attacks with the guitar and his melee attacks, you've got different command moves like different shoulder tackles and such, which can lead to that. Hold on. It's one. Oh, stop it.
All he needs is the New Yorker accent.
There we go.
That's what he needs.
And on top of that, you also have different grabbles that you can do once you actually do the proximity grab.
I wonder if it's very similar, but it's not exactly the same. Is this the same artist as the guys that did Double Dragon Guided? It's pretty close.
It's close, but it's not the same artists.
Yeah. Okay. This guy gives me Combat Tribes vibes.
that mohawk mullet.
Yeah. Moloch. Man savagely beats his wood. Not wrong. Not wrong.
But that right there is, all the different characters that you have. Again, even within each of those play styles, if you go with, various, if you go with the different equipment loadouts, you will get some really interesting runs with each character. And, each run is, an invasion where, a god from another world is trying to, fight their way through. And what makes it interesting is that the influence of those gods is constantly building over the course of your run. So literally, with each frame that passes, you'll see this meter ticking up, and every 5,000 points it gets, the enemies that you're facing off against actually get different buffs applied to them. So increases to their health, increases to their attack power, their speed, immunity to different elements. So it's almost like a race against the clock.
It's like a world state in Demon Souls. Kind of cool.
Yeah. But we've got, I want to try and make sure that we've got plenty of time for our other segments, because we got some good ones planned for you. So we will go ahead and end that here with Wendigo Blue 101.
There you go.
This game is currently on early access. It's only $10 on Steam. So if you want to pick it up, maybe get in a couple of runs. Hopefully they eventually add online co-op. But this one comes highly recommended.
You got to come up with like the Blazing Ace, burning satisfactory, like approved or something like that.
Well,
that's a weird way to say gonorrhea.
Yeah.
I go with the 4 B's: buy, borrow, bury, or burn.
There you go.
Yeah.
Since unfortunately this doesn't have a physical edition, I would definitely say, I'd say this is a solid buy.
This art
$10 is a special price.
It's a good deal for a beat 'em up, to be real, with a roguelite feature in it. But this art gave me Breath of Fire vibes for some reason. Breath of Fire 4? Kind of ish looking.
Yeah, definitely. Like the moment I actually saw this game and saw it in action, it definitely gave me, Breath of Fire and Dragon Marked for Death vibes.
Well, awesome, man. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe you need to start working with some of these games. Okay, man, we're going to recommend you in the tech tonight. You should hook it up. I don't know. Something. Flex your muscle, Ace. You got it. You got the leverage. All right. Well, that is the turn. I forgot to push this button. Nice. All right, guys. We still got a couple more segments here tonight. We're gonna bring back a little segment that I had late last year where I was kind of telling you guys some of the good deals in it for physical games, specifically physical games. So,
Speaking of stuff with solid pricing,
right? I'm gonna slap on some good old Dudley music in the background as we head back in the day. And yeah, this is the new What's the Deal. If it's your first time on the channel, this is the portion of the stream where we talk about where you can get physical games at a discounted price. And I've added a affiliate link on the screen with a QR code. So if you want to buy this game through that link, you can actually support the stream directly through that as well. So let's move on to the first one here. We'll go slow. So the first one I have on the What's the Deal here is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 50th Anniversary Collection Steelbook Edition. This is specifically for the Xbox One. Just keep that in mind. It is for the Xbox One. Let me see what I can do here. This one here is at a great deal. And missing. Oh, great. Where'd it go? That link just disappeared on me. All right, this one specifically, I think, was at $32.99. So just double check. Sorry that. Hate like clicking on something and it disappearing at the same time.
So wait, that steelbook comes with the game, the movie, and a set of trading cards.
Set of trading cards. All of this for that price, and I think originally this was around $50. So he did still basically 50%.
Incredibly rad.
Pretty cool. So keep that in mind. Yeah, just use that QR code that will take you directly to the link. Purchase it right there.
I don't know why. There's just something about collector's editions that come with like trading cards. That just
I mean, it's like when we get manuals as a kid, right? I thought those were super cool to have. So I'm glad they're kind of coming back. But we do have more here to share with you. The next one is going to be. Let's see if this works or not. Oh yeah, it's kind of working. There it is. Like a Dragon Ishin is our next one here. Just pull up the QR code for you. Oh wow, it's really freaking out. Okay, all good. This one is 50% off. Instead of the usual $59.99, it's $29. So if you haven't played these, you're added into your collection. 50% off. It's good to have. And all this is on Amazon. If you have a Prime account, it's even cheaper. But if not, we're only noting the ones that are physical. Get them added to your collection. So I know Nick is not here. I want to kind of honor him with the Dragon. All right, so next one here, let's do. What we got? Oh yeah, this one was my pick for you guys. Was Blazing Strike on the PS5. So let's go to that pops up there. And this is the limited edition. So this comes with a bunch of other stuff too, like I think a CD, a trading card as well, a little bit of art book, and it's a 2D fighting game. I think these guys were inspired by Street Fighter Third Strike. So I don't know if you guys have played Blazing Strike or seen anything like it, but it's here. Let me see if I can put this on the screen here for you guys. So that right there is a screenshot of Blazing Strike. But this game was supposed to be out a long time ago, but they kept pushing it back. If anybody in chat knows Blazing Strike, shout it out. But this is an homage to a Third Strike era of fighting games. Right now, this limited edition is normally $60. It is $39 right now. So pretty good pick 'em up, especially if you're a collector. That's
okay. Happens. Yeah. I remember seeing some concept art and stuff as they were going to develop. I haven't had the chance to sit down and play it myself. I do want to give it a shot eventually.
And I think there is a demo also, so keep an eye out for that. And I love this 2D sprite of basically King on there as well, so that's pretty interesting. All right, next one up is going to be Origami 2. I actually played the first one personally, and I really enjoyed it. So this game, chat, if you've never played it before, have never heard of it, it's basically Tenchu with shadows. A lot of shadow play in this game. It's a mechanic. You stay out of the light, right? And you assassinate, and then your character also has shadow moves where you can like teleport from shadow to shadow, right? Make specific agility moves using your shadow feature.
Okay.
I've not played the sequel, but the original one was really good. And this thing is at a bargain. Let's see here. What is it right now? For $26.24. Normal price is $40. So I'm giving you guys like 30%, 40% off on these games. A lot of good deals right now. Especially obscure ones. So, now, the next game I'm going to throw up here is a game that was actually in early access for a while, but it got actually officially released. I don't know if you guys can see that, but Starship Troopers Extermination is now, it used to be only on PC, but now has a console release as well. And wow, the value of this game is amazing because, once I lost this page, what's up? What's going on? Trying to find it. Actually, I'm gonna click on this link. I lost all my links all of a sudden.
Oh no. Hooray for technical difficulties.
Yeah, this is what happens when you start a new segment. Yeah, so it's normally $40 and is now 42% off at $23.39. If you are not a fan of Helldivers, this is a first-person shooter that's similar to Helldivers, but it has a building mechanic. So you can start building bases and ward off like waves and waves of bugs. Super cool. So, and then for half the price, you get 2 copies, one for you and your buddy. I think it's up to like 6 players. But like 20, but there's like the whole like lobby is like your teammate. So because you guys jump onto this planet and kind of clear it if possible, and the bugs are the back. All right, and I think we got one more. Yes, this one is an indie classic. I wanted to feature this because we were talking about indie games, and this was also one of the ones that were really popular at the time it was released. And this guy is The Messenger. I don't know if you guys played The Messenger. This game is where it's at. And right now, I think you can get The Messenger as low as $25.10. It's normally $30, but for physical copy, you can get it now for $25. About 16-17% off. Play it forever. The game is on the disc, and I think there's some bonuses on. This includes the DLC also, so that's a bonus for you. So a lot of game in one disc. Okay, that is pretty much the new What's the Deal for now. Just wanted to make sure that when you guys come on, like I said, always adding value and making you guys aware of all the games that are discounted for physical releases as well. Okay. All right, so let's see here. We're coming to a close, pretty close, and I guess I'll hurry up with this one. So I don't know if you guys follow me on X or Facebook, probably on X, because I'm there most of the time. One day I woke up and I said, I want to give back to the world what I want to receive. And so what is that? And I said, okay, well, I want to make motivational comics that people can just quickly read, be like, oh, that was cool, and maybe like bring it to the rest of their day, right? Kind of like your Sunday comics, because I will be doing this weekly every Sunday, and then maybe I'll throw in a midweek like post on the what do you call this, on the account as well. It's LBL Comics is where I'll be at on X. If you want to follow that, I'll put it up on the screen here for you guys. And this is actually the first comic I made. The comic is called Little Big Life, right? And Little Big Life is inspired by just dude or guys. I call him Guy, right? The main character of this comic is just called Guy. And I wanted to make something for pretty much the like young men out there that are like trying to figure out their purpose in the world. This one specifically is called The Dent, right? and it's it's just guy going in his room saying, I want to make a dent in the universe. I want myself to matter, right? I want to be something, I want to do something where it affects the rest of the world. And the second panel just shows him like, but I tried everything, but nothing really sticks. Nothing really, like, I don't think I matter that much. But in reality, it does matter what you do. Showing up and just doing it because you're doing it and somebody else is not. So you're already one step ahead than the other person. And sometimes that small thing that you don't recognize that you're doing actually is a big thing to some people. Some people can't get out of bed and start their day, but you do, and you do it, and you don't give yourself enough credit. So be kind to yourself. Hopefully this specific comic here motivates you to start something of your own, and just wanted to throw out there. So there's going to be a lot of this every Sunday. Like I said, don't know what time I'll post it, but in the midweek, starting tomorrow, I'll actually be posting on the channel as well. So, or on the X account as well. So let's see here. I think I had it on the screen. Yeah, so it's LBL Comics on X, and if you want to add me on Facebook, it's just Little Big Life. You can search that on Facebook, and those are the two places I'll be posting, and maybe eventually Instagram as well, if that's your thing. So check that out. Did you guys have any questions about the comic book or comments?
I
Anything like
actually
that?
think it's really cool. It's kind of, it kind of reminds me of the little the daily reminder segments that I do at the end of the stream. Just little bits of me telling my audience stuff that I wish I had been told when I needed it.
Yeah, and I think that is a big portion of that. And this is inspired by that also, and having more of this out in the world, I think, is super important for those that are aimless, for those that wake up and they go, man, what's my life? Right. So and I always tell everybody, even those around my circle, I say like, hey, give yourself more credit. Like I have a friend that started going to the gym recently, and they were like, I don't think I'm making any progress. And I say to them, I'm like, hey man, like you're going to the gym. You're already doing something that most people don't do. Like count that, not like not the other thing that you're focusing on, because like I said, like you are already inspiring somebody else that wants to go, like you're already there in the next step. So that's kind of what I want to do with this. There's going to be a lot of topics, and if you I'd appreciate it if you follow, and if you have any ideas, I would love that. I would love to hear your thoughts, your inspiration, if there's a specific one that you want to see as far as topic wise. But I plan on doing this for a while. I like, and I don't expect anything out of it really. I just really just want to create this and establish it, so it's just out there in the world for people to find. Okay. All right. So the last few things we got going on here. We always talk about, wait, what are we playing these days? I'm really usually playing the same thing over and over again. Diablo 4. I'm almost done with this grind for this season. Tekken 8 because I hate myself. My Role Rivals free, and it's it's a pick up and go, turn off my brain kind of thing. Which superhero do I want to be today? But the game that I really want to highlight was Star Renegades. I don't know if you guys have played Star Renegades before.
No, this is actually the first I've heard of it.
Okay. I haven't heard of it either.
Okay, so let me put it on the screen here. Star Renegades is a turn-based tactical roguelike RPG, right? And it's kind of like it got my attention. I'm hooked on it, and I keep playing it, and I it's hard. So let me see if I can pull up some gameplay here and show you guys, because it is a very interesting game, right?
Wait, have I seen this before? When did
You
this come
probably have. A long time ago. I mean, this was a while back. It started on Steam, but then now you can get it on like anything. I'm playing it on the Switch right now. It's a full pixel art game. You start off with 3 heroes or renegades, and they all have their specific abilities. But boy, this game is rough. If you make a mistake, like you get wrecked. Like
Absolutely
getting hit in this
obliterated.
Game, yeah, like in this game, this is one of those games where if it's not if the computer is gonna hit you first because it's on a like a Final Fantasy X timetable of turn based, right? Who's next? Um, your character has to defend, otherwise they take like 80% damage. Like that's
Good
how
God.
tough it is because the defense lowers your damage by 40%, right? And let's see if I get some gameplay here. Yeah, just check this out. So there's that little meter up top there. We can kind of see whose turn is it, who they're attacking. You have to pay attention to that because if you don't, and if you're just like I'm gonna power through it, no, your guys are gonna die, um, and it's hard to get them back because they don't really regenerate their health until you go camping camping at the end of the day. So you have three charges that you break through these gates. Once the charges are done, you guys rest for the night, and you have 2 nights to do that. Kind of like Night Rain, right? You kind of like run around the map, clear, get experience, and at the end of it, the boss shows up. It's kind of very similar to this, and the boss is relentless. So if your path to the boss was like in any way like, oh man, this run is trash, the boss is gonna kill you. Like you have to be like somewhat like cognizant of how the boss works, their patterns, and like what they're weak to element wise and stuff like that. Yeah, this game is rough, like no mercy, and I love it. I don't know why. I'm just like I love.
I'm definitely vibing with the visual design though.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I picked it up too. I was like, this is cool. Like, yeah, and there's a lot of different characters to unlock. They even added a relationship system to where so at the end of the night, you guys go camping and you guys give each other cards that you guys can like heal, right? Let's see if I can find that certain spot. Oh, there it is. Oh, and that's the bad guys. They have like personalities and stuff. So this is back up. Nope. Where's the camping scene? So those cards is what you get to spend them during the camping scene, and you see the hearts above their characters. So you give those cards to the specific character, they gain hearts, and those hearts fill up to a certain level. They have like now team up attacks, and they get like specific buffs. Like this guy will give that like guy with the coat like a more of a stagger buff, right? Because they're buddies. So stuff like this is what makes this game super interesting. And then once you max out the relationship with some of the characters, the combination of characters, you eventually make a new character. Like they have a kid, and they're like, "Oh, this is like like Fire Emblem, right?"
Okay.
Yeah, and because the game takes place in multiple dimensions, when you die, they just go, "Oh, we failed in this dimension. Trying to go to the next one, see if we can save it." Right? So the way they kind of write that is that like, "Oh, in this dimension, these two people hooked up, and now I'm the kid in this their kid in this dimension, and now you can select me when you play your next run." Stuff like that. So it's super cool. The game is like under $10. I mean, it's to me it's a must buy for a fan of this kind of game. So super fun. All right.
Okay.
Well, that was my selection for now playing. What about you guys?
Well, for me, mostly Wendigo Blue, but I've been going back and playing through some more Hades as well, and I'm actually contemplating trying to see if I can do another record run to see how quickly I can get my first clear.
Okay.
The last time I did, it was on the Steam version, and I managed to get it get my first clear after 14 runs. On the PS5 version, I got my first clear in 19. So basically, the next time I try this challenge, I want to see if I can get it, at the very least, to, closer to 10.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you noticed, Ace, but I did go back and edit my list of A to Z gaming, and I put Hades back. Put Hades on the list over there. So I don't know if you've ever seen a sealed copy of Hades. It is a foil cover.
That's rad.
It's shiny right here. Yeah. So it's super cool. What did I remove in H? But yeah, I swapped it for Hades, and for I swapped I Am Setsuna for Indivisible. Yeah. Oop, yep. So I'm excited for that change. What about you, Oliver? What are you playing?
My Happy Meal ass. is having to fucking play everything, right? Here's what sucks for me. What sucks for me is like I don't know, maybe it's just me. It seems like every other year of video games is an off year, right? Where this year everything's coming out when you're broke, right?
Yep.
Or nothing's out and you have money. Maybe that means something. Maybe it's I'm broke because everything's coming out.
There's a correlation. Yeah.
Right, there's like a weird math. But right now, I have 3 games I have to jump between. If I can't find something to do with my time for like, I don't know, the next 2 months, you know what? I'm gonna give up. It's just it.
I'm gonna give up.
I'm just gonna fucking give up. It's like I'm gonna go home and become a family man. Shit, I'm already one of those.
Like insert gal music.
Like now what do? I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite roguelikes finally got its sequel that actually dropped in the middle of June, and I just didn't notice. You know why I didn't notice? Because nobody's heard of the damn game. So Wizard of Legend came out some years ago. It came out on the PS4. Loved that shit. I was like, oh, this is unique. This is different, right? And then the sequel dropped, like June 12th. I was like, how come
I didn't even
nobody
know there was
told
a sequel. Yeah, you're
Bingo! I was like,
You're
how
right.
come nobody told me? Wait, nobody fucking knows.
Shadow drop.
So, right, it came out of early access. I was like, oh shit. So we just started playing that 3-4 days ago. Got a couple of my guys playing it, and they were like, yo, this is rad. I was like, I know. I was like, it's the same thing, just in 3D. It's a ball breaker, too. It'll just kick you square in the jimmy and keep doing it until you figure it out. Right? But I use that to lead me into waiting on Raido Kuzunoa. Right?
Yeah.
Raido Remastered. I was like, oh, and that's a huge game for me because that's the one that got away. I was in the middle of playing it way back in the early 2000s, had to get rid of it, and could never get my hands on it since because, those old Atlas titles are, well, they're rarer than unicorn fucking tears or some shit, right? Pick your favorite mythological creature. It's rarer than that. Right? So that was huge for me, and I started playing that, and now Death Stranding. Death Stranding 2 is dropped.
Guy.
I'm wrapped up on 3 games with some actual meat on their damn bones.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh shit, you're gonna be here for a while, brother, right? I mean, Raido, God only knows how long that's gonna take me to play through. What is that? Old school RPG, that might be 40 to 50, maybe more hours, depending on how completionist I want to be about it, but it's stellar. I can tell everyone that it's stellar right now. Like, no, this is not a remaster, right? Like, unlike some other games. The great way to describe it is it's not quite on the level of Dead Rising Deluxe, right? How they really did a massive overhaul on that, but it's pretty substantial. I mean, they added in voice work in a game that had none previously, added in new animatics. The old school, CG video and stuff, completely redone, right? So it's not like, oh, they just took it and kind of stretched it and made it fit with this aspect ratio and you can see how weird it is. No, they actually went and did the work. And the combat system is completely overhauled. It is very different from what it was in the original. So it's like, oh, you guys actually did some heavy lifting here. Good for you. Right, so God only knows how long I'm going to be playing that, and then Death Stranding. Well, I'm like the biggest champion of Death Stranding. I love that shit, right? I'm like, yeah, it's like, it's just like, every time that criticism came down of, oh, it's a walking simulator. I'm like, I don't know what walking simulator that you're playing where you're pissing on ghosts. But it's like, what? I'm like, I mean, that's it. Be a FedEx guy, exercise ghosts by pissing on them. I was like, no. In context, it makes complete sense. You'd be like, well, yes, of course. and it's like, now you get to go back to doing that. I'm like, yeah, of course I want to fucking play that. Of course I do. Right? No, I streamed that all day.
Bring in the groceries.
Right. I done fucked everybody up by saying that. I was like, no, Death Stranding makes complete total fucking sense when you just realize it's a game about a guy trying to bring in the groceries in one trip.
And it's perpetually Black Friday.
The whole thing. It's like, nope, it's not about walking. It's about bringing in them goddamn groceries and not wanting to go back outside. But you have to go back outside, so it just keeps happening. That's it. That's the score. And I love that shit. I literally have been playing all goddamn day. Like, nope. Started at noon, and I was just going. I was going. I wanted to make sure my wife got a chance to see it, because it's our family game now. Random little fact. The very first video game my son played was Death Stranding. I don't know why. It made sense to him. His ass is like 4.5, right? But he saw Sam out there taking a walk. He's like, "Who that?" I was like, "Who are you talking to, first and foremost?" And he's pointing. I was like, "Oh, it's Sam." And I don't know. It just gelled with him. Like, so I'd be sitting here playing. He'd climb up on my lap and he'd be like, "Sam, go on a nature walk." I'm like, shit, oh, okay. I handed him the controller. I was like, let's see what's going to happen. That's all he does. He just pushes the yelling button. Sam
The
up there
yelling
yelling.
button, yeah.
Yeah, the yelling button. He takes his ass on a walk. I was like, fuck it. All right. I was like, this is not what I anticipated. I had him all set up for Super Mario Brothers and shit. Right? He's got his own little NES, brand new, sitting off to the side with a nice little selection of games. Nope. He wanted to fucking run around with Norman Reedus talking to the baby.
Man,
That's it. He's like,
that's a starter game if I ever heard of one.
That's
Stranding.
He's like, Sam, it's a baby. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. Well, tell me something, son. Don't know. That's just like our family thing now. Death Stranding. That's just the thing that matters. But I can say this: it's very good so far. It's incredibly stable. I haven't seen a single damn frame drop. I haven't seen a bug. I haven't seen shit. Right? And Ace knows that I get real particular about that. If even so much as you cut a fart on the track, I'm gonna hear it on the music. I'm like, I heard that in the background. How come you didn't edit that out in post pro? I'm gonna get you on it. No, I got nothing. I've got nothing to get them on, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I was saying to my stream, both of these games are kind of like famous for like not having a ton of bugs, and I want more developers to take that time to just remember, hey, you should, if you can, you should build your own engine, right? Because it's your work. You definitely know what it's capable of at any given time. Yes, it takes more effort, but the results are huge. I mean, we know that Kojima is using Guerrilla Games' engine for Horizon, right? With a Decima engine, but still, it's a proprietary engine, right? And they handed him the source code, so he definitely, everyone at Koji Pro knows how it works, right? It's not like some weird nebulous mystery. This isn't an Unreal situation. They can get in there and really take the time, and it's a beautiful game. So I know I'm going to be absorbed in this shit for weeks on end, at least. And wait, there's more. And I still have to finish Dave the Goddamn Diver. No, why can't I hold on these video games? What's going on? No, it's a good time for me right now. It's a good summer. The best kind of summer.
There you go. That's why this
slothful
episode's called Summer of Gaming.
It's the best. I got it all going on.
Well, awesome, man. I'm glad. I mean, I too also have to beat Dave the Diver because sometimes I just want to collect fish and sell sushi. That's it,
right? To Wu-Tang sushi.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm so mad. I was so mad every time I go in there, and it gets to going. I'm trying to open the restaurant, but I'm just sitting there fucking vibing. I'm like, yeah.
That game is a vibe, 100%. Yeah,
I'm like, what the fuck is what is happening here? I didn't expect it. It is a very robust game.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Every time you think that, okay, the game's done introducing mechanics. Bam! Surprise, motherfucker! Here's a brand new, in-depth, well-executed mechanic. I'm like, how the fuck did y'all do all this?
Love. Starts with love.
Just like cooking.
There you go.
Secret ingredient.
That's what they be doing. All right. Well, guys, if you made it to the end, we're here. We're finally at the final boss. So this is one of the newer segments that we have, and like I said, I want to add value for you guys showing up and checking out the stream. And tonight, the segment of Final Boss is called, and I kid you not, unlocking your hidden stat. Okay. Tonight we're going to be talking about something that every gamer knows, right? But not everyone applies, and that's your hidden stat. In games, there are things you can't see on the surface, right? Resistance, alignment, affinity, luck. They're not flashy, they're not obvious, but they can change everything. Now, real life works about the same way. Now, you may not feel that you're leveling up every day. You may not even have new gear, right? An XP bar or a side quest completed, right? But the way you kept going when it was hard, that's resilience. The way you chose kindness when it was easier to snap back, that's charisma. The way you took care of someone else or asked for help when you needed it, that's strength. Okay. The best players grow even when the game doesn't tell them they are. So don't stress if the progress isn't visible. Trust your hidden stats. They're stacking up with every choice, every challenge, and every day you show up. Because this is your final boss reminder. Not all power ups come with sound effects, some just come with conventional wisdom. All right? So that's your final boss statement for tonight. Take that with you for the rest of the week, and then we'll see you next Tuesday. But tonight, we've walked through the halls of gaming history, stacked up some real life savings and what's the deal, and even dug deep into the mechanics of mindset in the tech. But before we power down, I want to say this to you guys. All right? Growth doesn't always come with a new badge, a new skill, or even flashy fanfare. Sometimes your best stats are the ones that most are invisible, like resilience, like empathy, and like courage to keep showing up even when the screen says game over. So if no one's told you today, you are leveling up, you are gaining XP, and trust me, your build is getting stronger. Keep trying. Insert that coin, keep continuing. Because until next time, be kind to yourself, stack your buffs, and never skip your side quest. This is the Gaming Academy panel with Oliver and Blazing Ace Nelson. Ace, set us off.
Class dismissed. We'll see y'all next week.
Appreciate you guys. See you next time.